And we warn our girls to go out lately, and our boys also, but mostly the parents are very afraid of what happens to the girls. And they're very right, because most sexual abuses are done against girls or women. I think up to 2/3 of like that. In the whole world we have the same pattern. Girls are, just as I told you, this gymnasium report, girls are at least twice as much at risk of being forced into such situations. But one of the strange discoveries in the Catholic material from the United States is that we have the opposite problem. We Catholics. The Catholic Church seems to have the opposite problems, because 80% of these reported cases were boys being touched or being put into sexual situation with these priests. 80%, and only 20% girls. And so one of the bishops who taught me on this subject said, don't talk about homosexuality because there will be too much discussion. But we have a problem. We cannot draw conclusions and say, oh, we have many homosexual priests, or oh, homosexuals do more abuse than others. We can say nothing about this. We can only say that there is a problem with a special situation with 80% boys. And we have to try to understand it. And this is something which has been discussed among bishops and among priest educators and so on. So we can make no conclusions out of it. We can only conclude that it's some kind of problem we have to find out. It has nothing to do with homosexuals. We have many homosexuals in the church also. That's not the problem. But we have this is a statistical strange thing. Yep.
Do you know if there is like any research or any discussion about the fact that in some cultures, including like the Catholic countries, I come from Italy, so I speak from experience. It's more difficult for a boy to speak about sexual abuse. So, do you know if there is like research or data that show that like link the fact that more victims are boys because it's more difficult for them to tell that another like grown man has abused them? Because I mean, I don't want to like offend anyone, but like with my language, it's quite difficult, I would say, for a young boy to go and say that a homosexual has raped them. So maybe it's more a question of, it could be like with the question to ask if it's more a question of offer and demand, you know, in some sense.
Yeah, what we hear sometimes when a young boy has been abused by a man, he will be very afraid of telling it because he thinks that maybe I'm homosexual.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be mocked by my friends. And if I tell this, maybe I did it, maybe I was, because we had a very nice situation, and young people, they always seem to think that they are responsible. Young people, they always seem to think they're guilty. It's a reaction. And but statistically, Cecilia Priebes' investigation of gymnasia kids show that many girls did not talk about the offense, what happened, but a higher percentage of the boys did not tell about it. Right, there you have it. So that's the confirmation of your idea, which we all know. So yeah.
So it could be like that there are like just a lot of straight men that just take the opportunity because they know that nobody's going to report them.
Probably.
Yeah. So it's not like, so maybe it's not like the problem is not homosexuality, it's more like the fact that boys are not going to report.
I think this is how it works. Yes.
Yeah.
And on an ideal level, I can confirm it, but statistically, it seems to be confirmed here in Sweden, and I think Italy much more, South America much more, Arabia. Sorry.
Okay.
These things are, it's dangerous. Many women come into Sweden. They can say they feel more safe here than in other countries. In buses, like in Italy, with bus, not always so nice. Yeah. Any questions? Any idea? What did you discuss or think? Or any question is welcome. Maybe I cannot answer it.
I have a question. Previously, you have said that, of course, it's not okay to, for instance, share a bedroom, one child and one adult. But I don't see why it should be okay to share a bedroom, one adult and two children. Because, I mean, in my opinion, it's not sufficient either. It should be at least two adults, because it will...
Because there's at least a witness. At least there's a witness. That's better. So the terrible situation is the isolated situation. That's really because in the isolated situation, the adult can begin to tell the child things which are not true, like you did this, or everybody do this, adults and children, or they will tell them, if you tell this, you will get into child prison. If you knew which strange explanations adult perpetrators give to the children and make them believe. And the children believe that's true, what the priest or the teacher or the doctor says. Or the rabbi. In many strange cases. They believe what's said. Like there's a child prison for children who do what you did with me, there's a child prison for that. And if I make photos of this and I put it on the Facebook, what will your friends say? So you better keep quiet. They would never put it on Facebook. They would never do that. But you know, there are so many mechanisms how they can lock the child. And I don't have time today to tell you about it, but you should be very careful with children who are in any way vulnerable. If a child is like an isolated child, many children have dysfunctions, or like this, or have other kind of things which make them just a little different, are much more in danger. So there should always be more than one. So of course it's not good. It's not good with only two children. You're right, more adults always the best. But you might have these camps where there are small rooms, 4-person rooms. Now everybody goes in here and here, and then there's only just little Sophie left. And Sophie standing there, she has no room. Maybe the catechist will say, she can sleep in my room, there's extra room. I know her mother, we have the same hairdresser, we speak very much. I know her very well. And this Sophie, I know exactly how she feels, and so she can sleep in my room. And it's normal, there's no problem in this. Except that you will have to tell, no, you cannot have little Sophie in your sleeping room. What? What? I've been teaching children for 20 years. I know her. It's a neighbor of mine. Why can't she sleep? Are you hysterical? No. I'm just referring to the rules of the church. One person, one adult, one child, same room? No. And this catechist may be very aggressive with you and don't want to be a catechist anymore. Bye-bye. Now we must follow the rules. I tell you, I'm going to explain the rules to you. Some of the priests I've been teaching, they begin to sit and screwing like this. And say, if we apply these rules on our catechism, we will have no catechist anymore. Nobody will teach children in the church anymore. What do we do then? I don't know what they do then, except for falling on their knees and asking the Lord to send them others. Because, yes, if they don't want to apply to the rules of the church, out. Because it's very important. First important thing is that children should be protected. That's safe. The church must be safe as we can do it. The second, there's also another thing. The adult leader must be protected. Himself. We don't have so many false accusations. Right, in the news, when there's a false accusation, the journalists, they love the story. A father was being, a daughter lied about his father, and now the truth has come, and he comes out of prison. They love these stories, but they're very, very seldom. The opposite is much more normal, that people do not tell. But if a situation should occur where anybody would lie and say that you have done something stupid as a leader, and you have been alone with that person, that child, you have no witness. And that's why you're yourself protected by the church rules of more adults and more children. It's also to protect against false accusations. They might occur. They might occur in situations, maybe the parents of the child are angry with you. Maybe you are kronofogden. What's that in English? Kronofogden? Kronevogt in
In English, there is none.
No, it's the people driving in money from Texas, and they hate you. Don't know. Many things are possible. Revenge, many strange feelings. So protecting yourself is also important, and the rules will protect you. And some children may invent stories because they have been so disturbed by the accident that they remember wrong. Especially when small children are being abused. This is so terrifying, and it is so scary that their memory may be disturbed. So they may say that teacher in the school who has this beard did this, and maybe it was their uncle with such a beard who did this. So false accusation may occur even if the children don't want, you see. So those rules which we are now going through are very important also to protect you. And the name of the church, of course. But first the children, then you, and the name of the church. Yvette.
I have a question. Because you know in Flyktingar Lund there are people that are non-religious.
Yes.
And we have also Muslim people. You are talking about a lot about the rules of the church. What are the rules of the Swedish government? They have rules to prevent sexual.
There have been discussions. There should be laws covering all sport associations, scout association, youth association, doing the same as we do. So there have been discussions that every youth activity in this country should be covered by such a beredskapsplan. But I don't think there's a law until now, really. In Denmark, sport associations must do it. And they have the same problems as we have implementing it, because the leaders don't want to do it. So this is, we have to be more sharp on that. But the government, what kind of, the legislation of the law was very easy, clearly. Schools, fritid, also free time in places, or anybody working professionally in contact with children must get a report from the police about their crimes and put it in. Anybody working as a doctor, anybody having contact with children. Now, what we do in the church, which I'll explain to you, is we do now the same of our own initiative concerning all our employees and volunteers.
So for that we have one requirement of volunteers for us to get this belastningsregister.
Yes. Belastningsregister is now, the church is demanding it from all activities performed in the name of the church, with a mandate of the church. Everybody having any responsibility must leave this belastningsregister, which is very easy. I'll show you very easy. Now, we demand the same as if you were working with children, doggies, school, or anything. It's very easy. So what we're doing is, of our own initiative, we're demanding the same from our volunteers as we would demand from if you were employed.
So, since we are having some fundings, I mean, I'm not in the church, but I'm supposed to be due respect to the sector. I mean, just like the idea is that since we are getting some part of the fundings, and me is part of that, and a part of the volunteers are from the church, all of us, of course, are.
Well,
so
the problem is,
understand, but
there must be a clear order. I'll go through exactly how to do it, but are there more questions about these things? I would like you to read this joint report or something about it shortly, so that you know, if you want to know the Catholic situation, which is a little untypical, as I've told you. There was one more question here behind, yes?
Me?
No,
You?
yeah, sorry, your name, I don't.
Ladies first.
Yeah. That is the outside, so yes.
This is a classical problem.
Yeah.
Okay, go on, sorry.
What I wanted to ask is, most of the discussion was about relationship with children and adults. But my question is, what should be? There are some guidelines for how adults should behave with other adults, because, for instance, there are some signs that can say that one adult is behaving bad. I mean, how can I notice that something is going weird? I think it's more important.
Well, yes, it's very important what you tell, but it has nothing to do with today, because this is juridical. It's about children that means 18 under 18. So
but I mean, there could be an adult that's abusing a child.
Yes.
I am an adult. How can I
discovered.
recognize that.
Yes. Are signs of this. Yes, and there will be some small things said about this subject in here. You know, it's a little difficult. Traditionally, we used to say a child that shows strange behavior in school or somewhere, like a sexualized behavior, reading sexual things, and so we used to say that these things might show something. But times has changed now, and today the whole world of the children are much more sexualized than in the 80s, and so now if you find a picture of children have been paying, for instance, they paid a person with two genitals, female and male genitals mixed together or something like that, it doesn't, I mean, 20 years ago we would be very alert what's going on here. But now it's difficult to see these things. But, you know, being evasive, being isolating themselves, children who, girls often isolate, become very quiet, become depressed and maybe hurting themselves. That could be some signs. Boys may be very acting out. But you see, this can be a sign of many things. Acting out. What is interesting with small children is if they play sexual games with, like puppets or this, which are combined with violence. You know, if they play games with puppets or things where violence occurs, the sexual violence, this is an alarming signal. Or if they do like masturbating, like teacher can see, if they do things which worries adults. You know, the best antenna is that some adults become worried. There's always something about it then. But you have to, it's difficult. I was sitting with some children in a school class many years ago, and there was a boy who was not coming to school a lot. He was walking around the streets, sitting like this, and he said to the other guys, I can do something you cannot do. I can do something, I know things you do not know. Sitting like this. Well, we were worried that he had a contact with an adult person. He tried to tell about it, but he didn't succeed. But the way he was giving signals, I know things which make me nervous, and it makes me proud also. I know things you do not know. So we were very worried. So the small signs, but it's difficult. But you should be, children who are alone, who do not go to school, children who are isolated, who are not under care. The pedophile perpetrators are walking around and looking at your children. They're looking at your children. They see them. They have been looking at you when you were a child. These people have been looking at you, and they have decided, no, it's not worth it. With you, if you have not been, if you're not experienced this, it might be because some perpetrator had decided, no, that child is too difficult. But there are children who are afraid. They do not know that you can say no to an adult. They think you have to obey, and they're a little confused. Children where you can get the impression this child will keep the secret, and this time the child will not rebel against me, and this child is isolated and nobody would believe it. Those are those in most danger. Many children in care homes. Children have disabilities of different kinds. In care homes, they are very much in danger. And if they have difficulties in speaking, you should be very alert. So we're going from the subject. We must come to the rules. But any more questions? Yes.
Yeah, I was only thinking about before. It crossed my mind. We are talking